It's like an old TV show where the old man goes up to his attic or down in his basement to dust off some old memorabilia, maybe some artifacts, storage that he put away many moons ago. In this case, Vinnie Mac is the old man, and he went up to his attic to polish off some of those artifacts in storage. Take a little stroll down memory lane and see what's still actually in his possession that he forgot about. So Vinnie Mac went up to his attic and he started polishing away, and he came across Bianca Belair. That's right, Bianca Belair. Vince, you still have Bianca Belair. You forgot about her. You stored her away many moons ago. Yes. Polish her off, Vince, and let her see the light of day. It's like Night at the Museum. You ever see that movie? They're stone cold stiff. You just need to bring them back to life. I have come back to life. And then the old man goes down into his basement and he starts polishing off some more artifacts, storage put away from yesterday. And he comes across Shayna Baszler and he starts dusting it off some more, and it's her, it's Shayna. And Vince is looking at Shayna and he says, I had Shayna this whole time and I did nothing with her? I must be super stupid. Yes, Vince, you are super stupid. No question. But that doesn't mean you have to continue that trend. Dust her off and show her the light of day. Last night, Bianca Belair and Shayna Baszler were dusted off and were seeing the light of day. And if you give them airtime, they will captivate you, I assure you. Last night, the women dominated Raw. 100% unequivocally. Absolutely, completely dominated Raw when you think of Bianca Belair showing up and giving an iconic beatdown. When you think of Shayna Baszler taking out flying ninjas and having superstars running away from her. And then she issues a warning, not just to the women's roster, but to the entire Raw roster, probably to all of WWE. When you think of Bianca Belair whooping that ass, Shayna Baszler coming back whooping that ass, a main event with 4 of the most talented female wrestlers you're going to find in this world in one match. And when you hear the amount of time that was given to them, you'll see why I said when it was all said and done, the women completely dominated the night. And if you're going to start talking an evolution around the corner, you can't start an evolution without a full-fledged Dynamite dominant army. Well, if you are going to now bring in Bianca Belair and Shayna Baszler to help out, yeah, something tells me you got a pretty damn formidable army that's taking shape. We're going to talk all about Raw. The positives, which obviously the women, and a whole lot of bullshit too we got to get through, but it wouldn't be WWE if it wasn't filled with bullshit. We're going to get through all of it. I'm going to down this coffee. I want to talk all about it right now, baby. Let's get amplified. Alright, Raw 7/13/2020. Now we kick off with the VIP Lounge, obviously starring MVP, special guest Dolph Ziggler. After some shit talking towards McIntyre, out comes Drew McIntyre. Mac talks some trash back to Dolph Ziggler, a little bits of MVP as well, and then Drew McIntyre sucker punches Dolph Ziggler. And then he walks away. And that's the entire first segment. This is the go-home show, mind you, to Extreme Rules, the horror show. And that's the best you had for Dolph and Drew. And this is what I mean. I love the fact that Drew McIntyre is competing, or at least on TV, basically every week. Mostly anyway. And coming from a champion like Brock Lesnar, who you would be lucky if you got him once every 2 months. I like seeing Drew McIntyre more. I like seeing my heavyweight champions a little bit more. Not every week. I feel like back in the day what made Hulk Hogan so special is he didn't appear every week. Sometimes it wasn't even every other week. But we don't necessarily need what we saw with Brock Lesnar. With Drew, we get to see him more on our TVs. That's good. On top of that, they book Drew for the most part pretty dominantly. So it's not even protecting Drew, they're just booking him badass. So there's positives with the Drew's booking. But when you go into a pay-per-view at Extreme Rules with Dolph Ziggler, you already know we've seen these two one-on-one and as a tag team a million times. So we've seen them together way more than probably any of us would have liked to have. So you need to do something a little more than just the history they have together. Instead, this is middle school booking. You could literally ask any middle schooler, hey, how would you book Dolph versus Drew? And they'd be like, let's have them face to face in a talk show segment and have Drew punch Dolph and then walk off. I mean, any middle schooler could book this. This is a conglomerate billion-dollar company. I don't care if your hands are tied and we're in the middle of a pandemic. The athletes, the superstars, the wrestlers are right there. You have a 3-hour format. Get creative, man. I know I'm a broken record and I say it all the time, but you have to use your brain cells. Any amount of brain cells that you have in your dome piece, you have to utilize them. You can't do middle school type booking when you are trying to pump out Extreme Rules this Sunday night. And all you have is an MVP lounge and Drew sucker punches Dolph. And that's the best you got. And I think later in the night, Dolph attacked Drew backstage at the Performance Center. Wow! If that doesn't captivate you, if you are not hanging on the end of your fucking seat, ready to watch Drew and Dolph, then you gotta check the old pulse, right? I don't know how you're not excited for this. You mean the sucker punch didn't do it for you? That's what I don't like. That's the creativity. The old man thinks that works in 2020. The old man honestly thinks that is going to get this match to where it needs to be. And that kicks off your show. You have a 3-hour show that you're trying to keep your audience entertained, supposedly anyway. Keep them captivated, interested, right? And that's your opening segment, a sucker punch to your heavyweight championship match at Extreme Rules. That's what I don't like, man. It may seem like I'm harping on it a bit much, but I don't like it. Come on, man. This is your opening segment. It's for your heavyweight championship. The big match is this Sunday. Do something fun, man. See, I look at creativity in a fun light, right? I look at it as a world of possibilities. And you sit down with a blank sheet of paper and you have two dudes that you have to book an awesome segment for to get people interested for a pay-per-view match this Sunday. I look at a world of possibilities. That company is looking at that blank piece of paper dreadful, because they know no matter what they put down doesn't matter. The old man is going to veto that shit and you're going to get a sucker punch. So in the end, it doesn't matter anyway, right? You could be the smartest dude in the world or the dumbest shithead on the planet. It's all going to be vetoed by the old man. It's no wonder every single member of the creative team walks around like zombies. Could you imagine for 1 second if your boss was Vincent Kennedy McMahon? You'd probably be walking around like a zombie as well. Nothing you put on paper is going to see the light of day. Or at least not how you presented it. Then you wonder why I blame one dude and one dude only. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Man, that perturbs me. You could have done so much with Dolph and Drew. You had a 3-hour program. And that's what you give them. Face to face on the MVP lounge and a sucker punch. Come on, brah. Come on, dude. You gotta work me. This is the time more than ever to get super creative. Why not? You have nothing to lose. You're in the middle of a pandemic. You've got about 12 people in your audience. You're fucking trainees from NXT or the Performance Center. You have nothing but 3 hours to fill. Have some fun. That's not fun. That's just going through the motions. That's getting through the segment to get through the show just to get to Extreme Rules. They're just getting by right now. That's all they're doing. The old man just gave up. He's just cruise control to try to get out of this pandemic as fast as possible. And for what? To put on the same type of trash shows just in front of a slightly bigger crowd. And I say slightly because you thought the arenas were half filled before for Monday Night Raw? Oh, wait until they come back. If you dip to 1.2, 1.3 in the ratings, who do you think is going to show up to these Monday Night Raws? Yeah, you're going to be seeing a quarter of the arena packed. 75% home. 50% of that 75 not even watching on TV. Yeah, do the math. You're losing people, Vince. I wonder why. Because your heavyweight championship match, your final build, you had a sucker punch. Tag match up next. This is the first actual match of the night. This was Garza and Andrade with 411 of Heaven, Zelina Vega. In their corner, they took on the Viking bowlers, golfers, gamers, Packers, Raiders, whatever you want to call them. But the Vikings were out there. Somehow this became elimination style, and one of the Viking golfers, bowlers, they were eliminated. I believe Ibar was the one that was left. And Ibar was pinned, well, whoever the first Viking Raider was who got eliminated, Eric, I believe. He got a hammerlock DDT and he was put out. Ibar, 5 minutes later, was getting pinned by Garza. So either way you slice it, Garza and Andrade pick up the W. Zelina Vega is happy as fuck. That's a happy 411 of Heaven. That'll be going to the back with Andrade and Garza. And on the flip side, the Viking Raiders, dumbest fucking name, man. They'll always be War Machine to me. But the Viking Raiders pick up another loss, so their losing streak continues. So those months of comedy, was it really worth it? We laughed at the Viking Raiders for 2 months, and now they're going to be on a 2-month losing streak. Oh, this is beautiful booking. Don't worry, Beasley. They're going to be something special in the future. This is just for now. Oh yes, because all of this comedy and this losing streak, this isn't damaging the Viking Raiders at all. Oh no, everything will be just peachy when they finally get a push. We'll forget all about this. Okay. I'm glad you can. Again, a lot of us, most of us were born with that crazy concept. What's it called? Brain cells. Hey, thank you. We can think and remember and do all that cool shit. Up next, you want to talk tag teams. Iconics took on Bianca Belair and Ruby Riott. That's right, I said Bianca Belair. Finally, back where she belonged, in front of that camera, in the middle of that ring. And the way they set it up, backstage, where the Iconics were kind of having a spat off with Ruby. And Ruby says, oh, I'm not alone. That's your cue. And we thought Liv Morgan was going to enter frame. Now, we heard about a yacht situation with Liv Morgan. This was the same boat that I believe Lana's parents came down with the Wabaka. Rusev has also tested pause as well. I believe everybody was on this same boat. This is what I'm hearing anyway. Sonya Deville was on it. So we don't know what's going on with Liv Morgan, but that could be exactly why she's been off TV. But I expected her to enter frame when Ruby said, oh, that's your cue. Instead, it was Bianca. And I was like, yes, it's about fucking time. And you look at the Iconics, who you guys know I'm a fan of. I don't hide that fact. I know most people are not, and it's the cool thing to do, the shit on the Iconics. I get it. I'm a fan of them, to be honest. But you look at the Iconics, you look at Ruby, and then you see Bianca, and you clearly see who's running the show, man. And it's just amazing that you had Bianca on your roster and you had nothing for her, so you had her sit at home. Or wrestle on Main Event, which most people don't even know what the hell that is. Not just they can't find it on TV, they don't even know what the fuck it is, Main Event. Is that a TV show? Is it a YouTube channel? What is it? Nobody fucking knows. So you either saw Bianca there or you didn't see her at all. And you had a talent like that on your fucking roster. Unreal. Along with other females, right, that they just don't fucking use. Not just properly, they don't use at all. The numbers decline, the ratings are in the tank, and they have talent like that just sitting at home. Well, we don't know what to do with them. We're too busy booking Dolph Ziggler getting sucker punched for his big title match this Sunday. So, I love how they set it up. Bianca is now, and just Bianca and Ruby as a tag team is something I never knew I needed to see until last night. And I don't need to see it again, by the way. Bianca should be on her own, just like Ruby should be on her own. I don't need to see Ruby and Liv Morgan. Fuck no. Let them be on their own, man. They're more talented, or they're talented enough to be on their own. If you give them a real chance, they'll show you they can go. They don't need to be held down in a tag team. And we've already seen Ruby and Liv Morgan in a tag team before with Sarah Logan. They got nothing for them. They have nothing for them as singles competitors, nothing for them as a tag team, nothing for them as a three-person group. And now we're just going to play the same game over and over. So it wasn't Liv, it was Bianca. We get to the actual match, and Bianca Belair owned the fucking night, man. She owned the Iconics. Again, I'm a fan of the Iconics, man. I just am. You know, everybody wants me to just sit back, enjoy, and like, you know, more of the vanilla talent, like Austin Theory and Drew Gulak, because they're good wrestlers. And I always say the same thing, like a broken record. I can see great wrestlers and great wrestling at the local bingo hall. You know, I need some personality. I need something that's going to entertain me. I don't care if it's over the top annoying, if they're exhausting. If they do it correctly and it serves a purpose and it can get others over, I don't mind people like the Iconics. You know, people like to say, oh, well, without wrestling, there's no World Wrestling Entertainment, BC. Well, I always say, without the entertainment, there's no World Wrestling Entertainment. Schmuck. You know, I'll take your Austin Theory and your Drew Gulak with, to me, no real fucking personality. Drew Gulak has a little bit, but people wanted to anoint Drew Gulak as the next Daniel Bryan. Trust me, he is no Daniel Bryan. He's much more vanilla than that. He just is. Don't try to tell me he has more personality than that. And Austin Theory, forget about it, man. He has shown me absolutely nothing. Oh, but he can wrestle. We can get great wrestlers pumping out of the Performance Center. It's like an Amazon factory. A box pops out every fucking 0.2 seconds. Just like Amazon spits out boxes, the Performance Center spits out wrestlers. All around the world, we have great wrestlers. What does that mean? We have a roster that should be dwindled down to about 30 participants. That's what it should be, 30 to 40 tops. Add in the females, obviously. Together, maybe 30 to 40. And you work with that. That means the best wrestlers in the world and the most entertaining. Wrestlers that can get in front of that camera and spit out promos. The Ant-Man should not be the best promo in the fucking business. So why, in these review videos or in these vids during the week, am I putting out better promos than the actual wrestlers? There's a problem, guys, and that's what we need to address. So you can shit on the Iconics all you want, but they're the most fucking entertaining part of a lot of that programming. At least it drives an emotion out of you. So anyway, that's just to show you, I'm actually a fan of the Iconics, but to see Bianca Belair fuck shit up was great. And that's what the Iconics are for. Get people over correctly. Be so annoying. Be so fucking exhausting that people want to see you get your ass whooped by somebody like Bianca Belair. And Ruby held her own too, but this was Bianca's show, man. Bianca just tore motherfuckers up. And I told you guys from day one when everybody was saying how great Bianca was in NXT, and I saw it, but I was hard on her. And you guys didn't know why. You're like, BC, you're a fan of Bianca, so why are you so hard on her? And I said, because until she gets the confidence to match that athleticism and that talent and her skills, until she gets the confidence, she's always going to be just mid-level. Well, guess what? She found the confidence. And she is literally already on that main roster. She is better than 95% of that roster. There's only a few individuals that I can think of. I'm not going to name them right now. You'll know when we get the matchups. There's a few individuals that are either better or right there with her right now. Just a few. She's already there. Last night, what you saw against the Iconics, that's just a glimpse of what she can do. And when she continues to find that confidence, fuck, bro, it's over. Could you just imagine? And by the way, she picked up the victory last night over, I believe, Billie Kay. It was Bianca Belair over Billie Kay. So Ruby Riott and Bianca Belair win the match. Obviously, that needed to happen. But could you just for 1 second picture Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks? Bro. Dude, take my money. No, double that shit. I don't care if you charge double for that event. Sasha versus Bianca. You just give them 20 minutes. I'm not asking for the world. I'm not asking for an Iron Man match. But if you at least give them 20 minutes, I'd say sit back and watch, but I'd probably be on the fucking floor, stomach down, just in awe. Like, yes! And I'll just watch the whole thing like I used to watch my Knicks, right? Knicks versus Bulls, fourth quarter, 2 minutes left in the game. I'm face down in the fucking carpet, basically. Like, no, I can't even fucking watch. Bro, give me a match like that and I'll be in awe. Sasha, Bianca, when you have two individuals at the height of their game, fucking with the confidence that they're fucking with the skills that they possess, and the talent that they extrude, there is no stopping individuals like that. You put them together, forget about it. Anyway, that's my Bianca Belair spiel there, man. It was amazing to see that shit. Bianca Belair pops up. I don't want to see her continue in tag teams. I believe Bianca Belair was probably a placeholder for Liv Morgan. I truly believe this was supposed to be Liv Morgan. But hey, at least we got Bianca Belair. Now hopefully they meaning Vince, sees what Bianca is capable of, and will put her where she should have been for months now, on the fucking show. One-on-one with people, in feuds, captivating storylines, she'll hold her own. You just gotta give her the chance, man. It's the only thing with these individuals. Just give them a fucking chance. Just like the next segment. You ready for this? Another returning female. Backstage, ninjas are faced off. That's right, ninjas. Don't get me started. It's a long story. You got ninjas face to face with R-Truth, Ricochet, and Cedric. R-Truth says he wants Tozawa in the ring for what he calls the 24/7, 48/7 championship. So we come back from commercial, and before the match begins, Tozawa versus R-Truth for that 48/7 championship, Shayna Baszler hits the ring. So right after we see Bianca Belair fucking shit up, Shayna Baszler now comes down to the ring. And she fucks up every single one of those ninjas. One ninja after another. And again, if you haven't watched the show in a while and you hear me talking about ninjas getting beat up, this sounds outrageous. That's Vince McMahon's product for you. So if it sounds outrageous, it's because it is. But at least it's Baszler who's fucking shit up, man. And she's taking out one ninja after the other. And when it gets down to Tozawa and R-Truth, they just fucking ran. Tozawa's like, no thank you. He slips underneath the bottom rope and he hightailed it. R-Truth is like, I'll see myself out. And he throws her a microphone and R-Truth hightails it too. So if she wasn't beating motherfuckers up, they were showing her the utmost respect. And Baszler got the mic and she talked about how she's been patient for long enough, and that's over. Everybody needs a hard dose of reality, and I am that reality. So Basler was putting, I don't even think it was just a female roster. I think she was putting the entire Raw roster, probably all of WWE. She was putting them on notice. They've been warned. I'm done sitting around. Now I'm fucking shit up. And I love it. At the same time that Bianca Belair's over here fucking shit up. At the same time you have Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks on the same show. Think about that. And now Shayna Baszler. I mean, this women's division, it's stacked when you start to really think about it. And I'm not even just talking about Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan and what they can do on Raw. But then you throw in Bianca and Shayna, and you have Sasha there, and of course Bayley. And then you go over to the Naomis over on the SmackDown brand. And we still haven't seen the best out of Nikki Cross either, don't forget. Ever since she got to the main roster, it's like she's so like befuddled by her booking, she's taken it down a couple of notches. Nikki Cross is better than that. But this is a stacked roster. If they did this correctly, this would be the perfect time for an Evolution 2. I say if done perfectly, right? They got to get the right matchups set. They have to do these set up, which means the storylines correctly. And they'd have to be feuds that we're into. But if you put the matches correctly, it's a start. The roster's there for an Evolution 2. That's obvious. Now, you don't want to really do that until you start bringing a real audience back in. I truly feel something like that needs that. But now's the time for an Evolution 2 when you start to look at that talent. But back-to-back segments, Bianca and Shayna. Dude, I couldn't have been more ecstatic. I mean, I'm thinking about this run-of-the-mill type of a Raw that I was presuming we were going to get last night. And I saw some female talent, and we still had the main event to go, which was going to be Sasha and Bayley taking on Asuka and Kairi. I mean, at this point, the women were already dominating the night. We just had to see how the main event actually, what course it went, right? What track was the old man going to put that main event on, right? We had our reservations because of what we've seen in the past. But to say I was shocked at what happened in the main event, that would be an understatement. I'll get to that in a few minutes. Hour 2 begins with Seth Rollins addressing Rey Mysterio in their upcoming Eye for an Eye match at Extreme Rules, The Horror Show. That's, of course, next Sunday. This Sunday now. Rollins says he doesn't know how it came to this, as he was just trying to make Raw better and teach Rey a lesson. But now that it's come to this, he has no other option but to finish Rey Mysterio. Kevin Owens hits the top of the stage for some reason. He still has beef with, at this point, it's like an obsessional beef with Seth Rollins. Rollins is like, what do you want, bro? Kevin Owens is like, I just want airtime. They're not giving me anything else. He didn't actually say that, but I mean, there's no fucking reason. Why is everybody coming to the defense of Rey Mysterio? You got fucking Humberto. You got Alistair Black. You got little Dominic. You got, well, if you're Rey Mysterio, he's not so little, but he still needs to hit the fucking gym. But you got Dominic, you got Kevin Owens. Everybody is coming to this guy's defense. Listen, I understand storyline, he's got one eye. But can he not stand up for himself? He's got 2 legs. So Owens comes down to the top of the stage. He cuts Seth off, and Owens talks shit to Rollins. Murphy hits the ramp. Once Murphy comes down, that's when Alistair Black hits the ramp too. Jumps on Murphy. Maybe even Rollins and Owens start the brawl. But either way, we go to break. I thought for sure when we came back, we'd see some dumbass tag match between the 4. That's what usually happens. But it was just a one-on-one match. Alistair Black versus Murphy. So again, what a weird setup. Rollins is doing a promo. Owens comes down. And back from commercial, we have Alistair Black and Murphy. It's so fucking odd. But when you're, what's Vince, 70-something years old by now? When you're that age and you just don't give a shit, I mean, that's the type of booking he's going to throw down there. The finish saw Black winning via DQ. Right before the finish, it was actually badass. Murphy was up on the ropes on the outside. Not on the turnbuckle, just outside on the ropes. And Black delivered a devastating, which they all are. It's one of my favorite moves in pro wrestling, that Black Mass. But this was an ultimate Black Mass that knocked Murphy straight out on his feet while on the ropes. So he falls back into the ring. He's out, obviously. I would say looking up at the lights, but no, he was out. There was no looking at anything. And Black goes to take the pin. But Rollins takes out Black from the outside. So obviously that's a DQ. I have no problem with the decision of a DQ. I think Murphy's at that point where he needs to start getting some momentum, though. Everybody had high hopes when he joined Seth Rollins, and now we're kind of at a point where, right when Murphy first got to the roster, you know, it's kind of like, where is he really? We know he's a really good wrestler. We know he still has a little bit of ways to go for the complete total package. So no, I don't think he should be a main eventer, nowhere near it right now. But I also don't think he should just be like enhancement talent or jobber status. I think there's a place for Murphy. They just have to give him a little bit more and let him run with it. You know, everybody will view his storylines and feuds and will make the ultimate decision. You know, and if he has to go back to jobber status, then so be it. If he succeeds and he captivates all of us, then no harm, no foul, and you put him up in the main events. And he's delivering, obviously. So I don't see why they just don't give him a real shot and see what he's got. But I don't know, it just seems like he's put in situations where it's never really about him. And I think he's reached a point where maybe we can throw him a bone and see what he's really got. Again, wrestling-wise, we know. But storyline-wise, I think he's deserved something. But either way, this was another one of those weeks where it just wasn't about him. Black takes him out. And it's not even about Black right now. Everybody is just trying to build for Rey and Rollins. You heard the old saying, it takes a village sometimes. I mean, this is a whole village to try to get people to care about Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins. I mean, they were using Kevin Owens and Alistair Black and Humberto and Murphy and Dominic, Rey's son. Oh, man. So anyway, Mysterio and Dominic hit the ring post-match after Murphy and Black in that fiasco. Rey Mysterio and Dominic were in attendance. They came down. We went to commercial. When we came back, we had Owens versus Rollins now. So that's why, I mean, it just seems like everything is just trying to fill up time. Nobody is having fun creating anything. The old man is vetoing everything and just putting out there just the most nonsensical bullshit that any middle schooler could have came up with. In fact, a middle schooler would probably come up with better content. But the old man thinks this is good shit. This will fill up some time. We'll have Murphy and Black and we'll have everybody out there, and then we'll go to commercial. When we come back, we'll have 2 more people in the middle of the ring going one-on-one, and everybody else will still be out there. We could fill up a good half an hour, 40 minutes with this shit. Because that's what happened. While Owens was taking on Rollins, Mysterio, Dominic, Alistair Black, they were all by ringside. Like a fucking mini lumberjack match. How is this legal? Whatever happened to just a manager, right? That was the old rules back in the day. You were allowed a manager. How the fuck are you allowed 3 managers? How is that fair to Rollins? I'm somebody who likes common sense and logic. I know the common fan or the casual or everyone that just wants to be hunky-dory entertained, they're sitting back going, I don't mind this at all. I'm not going to question anything. Basically, you should be sit back and relaxing and enjoying all this. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Bullshit. I love my pro wrestling. I just ask one main thing up front. Just make sense. Right? Some logic, some common sense. Right? I'm willing to suspend most of the fucking reality. Right? I'm willing to suspend my disbelief. You just have to allow me to do that. You know, right? At this point, you can have 6 managers now? Come on, bro. So everybody was by ringside. Owens ends up stunning Seth Rollins and picks up a W with the stunner. So Rollins is just flat on his back looking up at the lights. How the fuck are you having Seth Rollins lose a match, first of all, just nights before the horror show? I mean, this is like a mini horror show before the horror show. You're going to have Seth Rollins have this supposed big storyline with Rey Mysterio the last couple of months, and he's just losing nights before. First of all, that pretty much guarantees he's going to win Sunday, obviously. But on top of that, people take stock in that. I mean, the old man might not realize that, but we're constantly taking, consciously or subconsciously, but we're always taking inventory of things like wins and losses. I know it doesn't seem that way, but that's how we, in our own minds, come up with who's a winner and who's a loser in the business, by how they're booked. Or Rollins has been talking a good game for weeks, and then all of a sudden he can't even get past Kevin Owens. And we're supposed to take him seriously in a big matchup at a pay-per-view this Sunday. I mean, that's what a lot of people, again, even if it's subconsciously, that's what they're intaking. It's not cool to have somebody lose a match like that just days before a pay-per-view. I don't care if it's a title match or not. That's my first problem with that. The second problem is, what is it? Kevin Owens, you have nothing for anyway. So Owens defeating Rollins for what? It is clear this company has nothing for Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has been fluttering for months. Some would say even years. He'll have big pay-per-view victories, and then he won't even be on pay-per-view shows. One minute he's like a bootleg Stone Cold dropping stunners. The next day he's doing his fucking pop-up power bombs again. It's like Kevin Owens doesn't even know his identity anymore. It's no longer fight Steen fight or even fight Owens fight. Now he's getting into altercations with people on social media for political beliefs. He's taking on Vince McMahon for mask issues. He's doing all these other things, man. Some would say he's more of a locker room leader than Rollins and Reigns. And that's great. But unless you're booked like somebody on screen, ain't nobody like the Ant-Man gonna look at you and go, wow, you should be beating Seth Rollins days before Extreme Rules. I just think that was fucking stupid, and stupid. Can you tell I thought it was stupid? I just don't see how they have a pinfall victory like that. It's mind-boggling to me. But that's Vince McMahon. He's mind-boggling to me. Backstage, Ric Flair tries talking some sense into the Big Show. You know, don't even try to fight Randy Orton. It's not worth it. I think the world of you. You're the best big man I've ever taken on, and I've taken them all on. But Randy Orton is somebody you just ain't gonna beat. And I like you, Show, so please. And he cuts a whole fucking promo. Ric Flair is still cutting better promos than 90% of that damn roster. That tells you 2 things. Number 1, that's how damn good Ric Flair is. And number 2, that shows you that the Performance Center and NXT and all that bullshit, they ain't teaching these young crop of talent anything. The promos are getting worse and worse as time goes on. And they actually have promo classes down at the Performance Center. No, there's nothing like just having that natural it factor. Like guys like Austin and The Rock and Ric Flair and Roddy Piper and so many others, they had. And when you have that it factor and you can turn that switch on and you can take your own personality, your own character and put it up to 10, that's when you get the best characters on TV. You don't have that anymore. Now you just have like regular human beings, and there's a big portion of the audience that loves that. They want to sit at the bar with their favorite wrestlers like John Gargano, right? And fucking Drew Gulak. You know, great talents, don't get me wrong, but they want to sit at the bar with them. Most people would walk right by them. They would never look at Johnny Gargano or Drew Gulak and say, wow, they look like professional wrestlers. Right? They looked like two dudes that just got out of the fucking factory doing a 10-hour shift, and now they're having a fucking brewski. Whereas back in the day, man, you walked by guys like The Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, and Randy Savage, you knew they were pro wrestlers. You ain't even gotta watch pro wrestling. They were just at a bar together. Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, and you walked by them, you knew something was up. You knew they were something like, I don't know, pro wrestlers? Even Ric Flair, who was never the biggest dude, but with all the bling that he would be wearing and dressed to the nines with those golden locks, wooing at the bar, you knew, man, the personality oozed off these sumbitches. You know, nowadays, if you lined up, and again, I love all of these dudes. I do. I mean, not fans per se of some of them like Gulak and stuff, but I understand their talent. But if you were to set up Johnny Gargano, Drew Gulak, and Austin Theory at a bar, right, side by side. I mean, guys like me would walk right by them. We wouldn't think twice, you know. And that's what I just miss. I miss wrestlers not just looking like pro wrestlers, but acting like pro wrestlers, speaking like pro wrestlers, not necessarily living 24/7 their gimmick, but being that person, you know. And just that it factor that can't be taught. Even The Rock could just be cutting a heartfelt personal message like he's done several times in the past couple of months with some heavy hitting topics going on in the world, especially here in the States. And he's still The Rock. You're getting that out of him, you know? I mean, it's just natural. Stone cold. You ever hear him on his Broken Skull sessions or his podcast? It's just Steve Williams. That's right. His real name's not Steve Austin, for those of you that didn't know. Steve Williams. But it's just Steve Williams, but it's Steve Austin. I mean, it's just who he is. He just doesn't have it turned all the way up. But it's stone cold. It's in him. It's that it factor. And Hulk Hogan's this, Terry Bollea is fucking Hulk Hogan. It just is. Randy Savage was always Mr. Poffo. You know, he was always, they were one and the other. They were who they were. And their character wasn't that far from it. Roddy Piper, all of them. And I love that, man. It was their natural self. They weren't taught something from the beginning to be something they're not. They weren't giving sheets of fucking paper to spew back in promos. It was them. Sorry, not sorry to go off on a side rant, but if you want one of the biggest problems with pro wrestling today, it is carbon copies of one another being pumped out of the Performance Center. Everybody either looks or sounds or acts the same. Everybody is vanilla as fuck. I can see great wrestling anywhere. You better give me some personality. If you're going to be in a storyline in a feud that I'm supposed to care about, you better wow me. Leave me in awe. Shock me. Surprise me. Back in the day, these wrestlers, every single one of them could do that shit. Today, I'm not getting that. And that's why I see Ric Flair cutting that little heartfelt message to Big Show. And that's some of the best promo work that I've seen on that roster in months. Aside from, again, old-timers like Edge, and I even put in Randy Orton in that category. You know, dudes that are around during that attitude era or just out of, like Randy Orton. But those are your best promos, man. The dudes that didn't go to the Performance Center. Go figure. And these are the ones that have promo classes. Cancel the classes. Enough promo classes. Let them be themselves. As long as they're not using profanity and shit like the Ant-Man, they'll be fine. Anyway, what happens here? So hour number 2 ends and hour number 3 begins with Randy Orton versus R-Truth. Orton defeats Truth in about 30 seconds with an RKO. He goes to punt Truth's dome piece off, which Ric Flair, before the match, promised R-Truth Orton wasn't going to do. But Orton set up like he was going to punt R-Truth's dome piece out of the Performance Center, and Big Show ends up hitting the ring. Orton says, hold on there, big man. Hold on. You take one more step, and I knock Truth's block off. So Show backs up, but he's pissed. And Randy Orton issues an unsanctioned battle next week on Raw. Randy Orton versus Big Show, unsanctioned. We thought this was all leading toward Extreme Rules. Either they feel like they have too many matches at Extreme Rules, or they're trying to get a little pump in the ratings. I don't know if they think Big Show is going to help that, but unsanctioned with Randy Orton, that actually does draw some of my interest. So I was going to watch anyway because I do for you guys first and foremost, but Randy Orton, anything unsanctioned, I'm pretty much down for. I would rather it not be with Big Show, but beggars can't be choosers. But Orton lays down that challenge, and Big Show says fine, and he jumps into the ring, and Randy Orton pretty much runs away. I don't like to say Orton runs away because it's fucking Orton, he's badass, but he's methodical, right? He's the Viper, so he's going to strike when it's best suiting for him. So he gets out of the ring. Big Show kind of saves R-Truth. Now, I heard behind the scenes, Vince McMahon was not happy the way Big Show said that he accepts Orton's challenge. Show just yelled out like, fine, or okay, or something, then he jumped in the ring. Vince McMahon was not happy with that, so Vince actually had Big Show tape a backstage segment where he was interviewed about his actual answer, and Big Show was still pissed. So he's like, let me just clear this up. My answer was yes, and he walks away. So he was probably, like, real life pissed at Vince McMahon, too, for having him do it again, say yes to the challenge. So that's a little behind the scenes for you that I heard, and seeing that backstage segment pretty much backs up that story. So next week, you got Orton and Big Show on Raw, not at Extreme Rules. So, all right. We'll see, man. I'm sure that was supposed to be at Extreme Rules, especially with the stipulation unsanctioned. But they're going to try to get a little bit of a ratings grab. Don't blame them, man. I think that's the way to go. You already have a bunch of fucking stipulation matches at Extreme Rules. We're going to see people fighting in a fucking swamp. We're going to see people trying to take each other's fucking eyeballs out. I think that match, Orton and Big Show, would have just got lost anyway. Up next, Ricochet took on Bobby Lashley. Lashley tapped Ricochet out with a badass full Nelson. He basically caught Ricochet in the air. Ricochet was doing one of his little flips and dives, and Lashley just caught him right in the air, and those big fucking, he was just fucking got that motherfucker locked. There was no way Ricochet was getting out of that. Post-match, I believe he locked the Nelson on Cedric again as well. Cedric is always going into the full Nelson. Cedric, I believe, also got those hands by Lashley. Not Strowman. And it's clear Lashley is being primed to be next for Drew McIntyre. I think McIntyre defeats Dolph Ziggler Sunday at Extreme Rules. And then I think he's positioned perfectly. I think they're going to go Bobby Lashley taking on Drew McIntyre next. We'll see. Main event, Sasha Banks and Bayley defend their women's tag titles against Asuka and Kairi Sane. This match was given, you ready for this? This shocked me, man. Because I said from the jump, I've seen these four in the past. And you give them 5 minutes, and I'm sure it'll be good because you're talking about four awesome talents like Kairi and Asuka and Bayley and Sasha. 5 minutes, they'll give you their best. But I just feel like with such amazing talent, you got to give them at least 20 minutes. I know that's something Vince would never really give them, you're thinking, but at least 20. Guys, I was fucking rocked here. 25 minutes nearly. 25 minutes legit with these four. So obviously, the Ant-Man was entertained. I got to see Sasha in there in a 25-minute match. You're throwing Bayley, who we know is good. You just got to give her an actual match that she cares about, and she'll invest into that. And Kairi and Asuka, obviously, consummate professionals. So you give them nearly 25 minutes, full of action, good sequences, and you got a real sense like every one of these ladies really wanted to win this match. I know that sounds silly, right? Well, obviously they made it look like they wanted to win BC. That's their job. But we don't always see that, man. A lot of times, especially in the last several months with what's going on in the world, in that ring, you see people going through the motions. But these four ladies, you honestly believed They were going for it all to win this match. And when we believe that the wrestlers in that ring want that victory as much as they want food and water in that moment, man, that is when we will be invested so much more into the match. And that's what you got last night. And it all starts before you even get to the performances of the four ladies. It starts with the booking of the match. If you give four talents like Kairi, Asuka, Sasha, and Bayley 25 minutes, fuck, they are going to deliver. That is what I've been saying from day one since I started this channel. I've been saying it for decades, before YouTube or the internet was even a thing. Give actual talent time. They will wow you with what they do in the ring. It befuddles me. I'm dumbfounded always when I see great talent given 5 or even 10-minute matches. And I'm thinking, what is the old man thinking? For what? Now, I'm not saying there's not placement for ladies like Iconics. Again, I said it twice, 3 times already in this vid. I'm a fan of the Iconics. But I know their placement. They're there for those 2, 4, 5, 7 even minute matches. For now, anyway. They could improve drastically, and they could be in main event caliber matches 2, 3 years from now, which I would love to see Billie Kay and Peyton Royce in both of them in those type of matches. You know, keep getting better and keep getting more airtime. Awesome. But for right now, I know the Iconics gimmick is about 5, 6, 7 minutes tops. You know, go over a little bit so people take you seriously, but in big matches, the Iconics have to lose. That's their shtick, or at least it should be. Because there's just better talent wrestling-wise that needs to get the rocket strapped to them. So my point is there's placement for talent like the Iconics, and there is placement for like incredible in-ring talent skill-wise, like Asuka and Sasha and such. And Vince McMahon just doesn't know where the line is. So he'll give Sasha and Asuka and Bianca or Shayna and those individuals, he'll give them 5, 6 minutes. And you could see the Iconics in 10-minute matches. And it's just ass backwards. It's twisted. You know, so it was so good to see a 25-minute main event with Sasha and Bayley taking on Asuka and Kairi. I just fucking love that, man. The finish saw Kairi saying tap out to Sasha Banks via the bank statement, so my girl Sasha gets a big victory. Kairi, we don't know how much harm this is going to do for her. We don't even know if she fully signed a new contract yet. The first word we got was she was going back to Japan. Now we're hearing Vince McMahon threw a bunch more money at her. And that's why she picked up a victory last week, but here she is tapping out. I mean, that's not just a pin. She's tapping the fuck out to Sasha. So that last week with the victory, we kind of thought she signed a new deal. This week with a tap out, we're thinking she's going back to Japan. We don't know what the fuck Kairi's doing. Maybe Kairi doesn't even know what she's doing. But if she's leaving to Japan, this doesn't do anything to affect her. If she's staying and she just signed a new contract, that's probably not the best way to start your new contract, tapping out. But again, to Sasha Banks in the bank statement, I don't see how that's too much harm, too much foul. I like how there was a decisive winner. I mean, there were some antics, slight interference from each party toward the end. But there was a definitive winner, and I think a 25-minute main event match between those 4 ladies needed to have a definitive winner, and that's what we got. Man, I couldn't be more pleased with that main event, honestly. And Sasha Banks and Bayley hoisting up those championships afterwards. Again, I don't like Sasha necessarily being linked up with Bayley all the time. Every single time we hear Sasha's music, it is cut off 10 seconds later with Bayley's, and they're joined at the hip. I don't necessarily like that at all. In fact, it's not necessary. I don't like it at all. But I like them more as a heel tag team than I ever did as a face. As a face tag team, I couldn't even stomach it. It was like Sasha was a shell of what she once was. As a heel tag team, at least they gel together. And Bayley is playing her best character yet as her heel character and persona. And I think that just keeps getting better by the week. And Sasha is just fucking Sasha. So to say that in the past couple of months, they've not put the company on their back, even if you don't like Sasha and Bayley, you'd be fooling yourself, nobody else. They're putting the company on their back. And now that you have help on the way, you have Bianca Belair coming in to take off some of the slack. You got Shayna Baszler coming in to take some of that slack off. I think the women's division is in good hands because last night, the women's division absolutely, positively completely owned the night. And they dominated the night. So I couldn't be more proud of that women's division, man. And just like that, the final Raw before the horror show. Oh, this could be a horror show. This could be a horror show, man. The final Raw before that show went off the air with Sasha and Bayley hoisting up those championships. Now, the Blue Brand has one more shot at redemption this Friday night with the actual go-home show to Extreme Rules. That'll be the final show, and then 2 nights later, we'll have Extreme Rules. But the Blue Brand, after the last few episodes of SmackDown, they need to deliver Friday. I feel like I have been going ballistic on SmackDown's reviews for weeks now. That's how it feels anyway. And I know it's only been a couple of ballistic rants, but that shit's got to change, man. You're going into Extreme Rules. You are the go-home show. You cannot produce the type of show you produced last week. No karaoke, no bullshit. You need to come with some creativity. You need to come with shit that when the show goes off the air, we're on the edge of our seat going, oh, I can't wait for Extreme Rules. Because there ain't nobody, and I mean nobody, that's ready for Extreme Rules or even cares about Extreme Rules right now. We don't care, and as much as I love Bray Wyatt, you guys know that. I don't care which version. I don't care if he's Husky Harris or if he's The Fiend. I love Bray Wyatt. I don't know if I care. I don't care. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no interest at all in 2 dudes fighting in a swamp. I can't even say I'm interested in what the hell that even means. Are they literally just in a fucking swamp? I can't even say I care about. I don't care about an eye for an eye. At this point, I want them to just make me care. And you start with the actual shows. You don't just get to Extreme Rules and then turn the light switch on, which I hope at this point they at least do, because they haven't made us care. So now we're just hoping that they put on the light switch at Extreme Rules. Ah, fuck. It's all twisted. It's ass backwards. These shows should be getting us interested. I can't say that when they go off the air, we're any more interested than before the show even started. I'm the Ant Man. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, man. I couldn't be more proud, at least with all the shit that I don't like about the show. Hopefully my like and even love for what I saw with the ladies last night, hopefully that was portrayed on camera and got to you guys, because I really did like how the ladies were utilized last night, seeing Bianca be so dominant, seeing Shayna be so dominant. Of course, I would put them in much better situations than what they were put in last night. Just Bianca in a tag match taking on Iconics and Shayna Baszler beating up ninjas. But at least they were brought back and dominant, and hopefully this is the start of something. And for the ladies in the main event, forget about it. 25 fucking minutes and they delivered, as I knew they would. You just gotta give them the chance. It's not a crazy concept. It's not rocket science. You don't got to overthink it or overanalyze it. You just give talented people time, and talented people will make that time worth it for you. Damn, man. Until this, oh no, there is no NXT and AEW, right? Did they reach 750? NXT, you guys know my rule, man. I only review shows that can reach 750,000 at least, 750,000. If you can't reach 750, then I don't review your show. I don't think AEW even reached 750. So I have to see, man. Maybe I'll still do one if there's enough interest. Lately, there's no interest in AEW and NXT reviews. So I don't even know if I'm going to do either one. But be on the lookout for that. Obviously, SmackDown's review. And we have, I believe, the 69th podcast this week for the Amplified podcast. So that'll be interesting, man. 69. One of my favorite numbers. So maybe we'll do something special on the podcast this week. But be on the lookout, guys. Until then, think, be, live. Amplified. Always. Check you later.